There we go.
There we
Hello.
go. Hey, Lori, it is nice to meet you today. I'm so super pumped about this. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. You're so sweet. I love that you said that.
Oh,
And
man. I'm so pumped about this conversation today. I've been scrolling through your site and your YouTube channel and watching a lot of interviews. And I mean, I'm just blown away. There's no way we could talk about everything that we wanted to talk about today. So I think we'll pick
yeah.
one subject. But for anybody that's watching this, Lori is a best-selling author, speaker, and she does a ton of things. But the thing that I want to focus on today is energy healing, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about animals and their interactions with people, because I mean, I love animals. I'm not like a animal activist per se, but I kind of am deep down inside. So,
Mhm.
but let's just get right into it. Energy healing. You know a little bit about this.
Yeah. Well, let me say first, I am 100% in the knowing that all beings are actually whole and complete, free from any and all illness, dis-ease, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, energetic. Like that is the core truth. However, our experience, whether animal, human, earth, physical earth, whatever, our experience is our perspective on our reality. And so what we're doing really through the healing journey, which is a transformational journey into real alignment with who we truly are, that experience, the healing experience, is the restoration of the true identity. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Let me see if I've got this. So basically, if we're in alignment with, I don't know, maybe what we're supposed to do, or something like that, everything should be flowing pretty smoothly. But when we're out of alignment, out of alignment, then we get knocked for a flip. You know,
Yeah.
we maybe get disease, something like that.
Right.
A lot
Any
of
form of illness, whether that illness is measured on the emotional, the mental, the energetic, spiritual, whether it's a form of relationship dis-ease or relationship challenges, or even if it's any form of monetary, financial burdens or issues, like all of that is a representation of where we're out of alignment with the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are is energetic frequency and vibration that is wholeness, fullness, completion, like the richness of who we really are, which is
it,
source. So our source,
right.
infinite supply of infinite love, infinite peace, infinite joy, infinite prosperity, infinite energy. So that's what, when I talk about healing, that really what I mean is the restoration of our ideal and optimal state of being.
Would you say that everything in the universe is energy? I mean, we're all
I
vibrate. I
would
mean,
say to a point, I would say at the at the purest, and when I close my eyes like this, because I'm asking for the right words to say,
right.
um, the highest, clearest, purest truth is that what we are is awareness. And that awareness actually is not energy. It's pure awareness.
You know,
And that's hard for a lot of people to realize because everybody thinks everything is energy. But actually, beyond energy is just awareness, the awareness of all that is. And we are that. We are that. But from that state of being, we're no longer functioning as individuated beings. Does that make sense?
it does. And actually, the what you just said, the awareness of all that is. Um, I was listening to a meditation this morning, and I heard almost those exact words, and I tried to wrap my head around, you know, uh, just being aware and nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's very, very difficult for me, but I understand the concept, and it's something I've been working on for years.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we're not there. We're from our personality selves, our individuation and our identity as individuated beings. we are not at that level of pure awareness. We really can't really fully be there, because if we were, we would lose all of our individuation. And that's not our goal in this lifetime. Our goal as human beings, or physical animals even, is to experience as much alignment with that divinity while retaining or remaining in our degree of individuation. So that is kind of the game on it. That is the game of a spiritually evolving being, from my perspective. How do we align ourselves with that source, that pure awareness and its energetic frequency? Because that frequency is a vibration of love and peace, right? In a sense.
Right.
So how do we align ourselves with that? So much so that we're to the best of our ability at one with it through our awareness, our conscious awareness, while still being ourselves.
I know. So how do we do that? It's something we're all trying, but okay. So before we go there, if I'm looking to align myself, let's say I've knocked myself, out of balance, and I want to get back there, and I'm trying everything, and I'm listening to all the little nuances and seeing the little synchronicities, but I just can't seem to get back there. How would you say, what would we look for to get back into alignment with?
Well, I first want to say that it's impossible, if you really are doing your so-called best, it's impossible for you to not be. Your perspective that you can't seem to get back there is nothing more than a perspective. It's untrue, because simply by the desire and the choice to align yourself, oneself, that is like that's like getting in the car and driving and saying, I can't get to Mount Shasta or to California. I can't get there, but you're driving and you're moving. And all it means is, okay, well, maybe you took a slight detour, but that detour might have been necessary to get you on the right freeway, and you just don't realize.
Okay.
In that moment, it's impossible, because your desire is the driving wheel. It's like desire and intention is the directional for your being. And the energetic frequency is that sort of the highway. Are you on the frequency that will get you there? Or are you on a frequency that might seem like kind of a diversion, but is actually realigning you?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does to a point.
You can't not get there is what I mean. You can't not get there.
Okay.
All you can do is have experiences along the way that may feel like or seem like they're deterrents or distractions. And in some cases that could be, but they will always somehow serve you.
Okay. Well, now that's serving me. I can see that 100% how things could, because if you don't go through trials and tribulations, you don't learn anything. I know about that.
Okay, but even that, this is a game. It's like a maze, right?
I think
the idea that you still have to learn things is also human belief system. Because actually, as we become vibrationally aligned, we don't have to learn anymore. What we have to do is attune. And an attunement is just, again, it's a frequency vibrational shift with who you really are. You're not having to learn something anymore. You're just having an experience that aligns you. It's very different, because this old paradigm that we've been in, that we've been experiencing, we came into these belief systems that we had to learn. And that's not untrue. It's just that there's a purer truth. The purer truth that is more vibrationally true is that we must just come into vibrational knowing, which is also a form of embodiment of energy.
Okay.
The idea that we have to learn something through pain or through suffering, that can be shifted and changed. And then we don't have to go through pain and suffering. We have to go through vibrational shift.
So if we're going through pain and suffering right now,
It's a misalignment.
It's a what?
A misalignment.
A misalignment.
That's what I call that, or a miscreation. So like, I'll give a very radical experience, but we can all relate to it.
Okay.
The experience of COVID.
Okay.
or the experience of, being in angst over anything related to that. That, to me, there's a lot of pain and suffering in the COVID experience. I perceive that as a lot of pain and suffering. And it doesn't mean that people aren't learning how to care for their body or how to take care of their health or how to learn discernment about what might be true or untrue, or how to learn, or what they're learning about, is government serving, is big pharma a private agenda? Who's the spokesperson? What's their agenda? Does somebody who's a spokesperson profit at the expense of others, to the harm or detriment of others? We're learning.
Right.
And yet there's a lot of pain and suffering in that experience. And so if it's serving these through their perspective to learn, then it serves, which it does. However, is it absolutely necessary? No, it's not. However, for somebody who's in that vibrational bandwidth, going through that pain and suffering, it may be necessary for them, but it's, from my perspective, it's unnecessary. It's a miscreation.
There two people could be going through the same exact scenario, and one of them will be happy as a lark, and the other one will be just miserable doing the same exact thing. I see that happening over and over again, like my entire life.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's throw some animals in here because I'm interested in this. My son, he is an animal lover. I've never seen anybody love animals more than him. Growing up, we seriously had some unique, I'm not going to say pets, but we had some animals living with us. We had a couple of caiman in our basement, but do animals and humans experience pretty much in their own way kind of the same type of lives? I mean, I know they're sentient beings, but I mean, I'm not going to say do they experience a type of faith like humans have different types of brains, but can they heal themselves? I mean, what types of experiences do they go through?
Yeah, so animals, it's very interesting because, of course, I'm in this lifetime not an animal.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm interpreting through what animals have taught me and shared with me, and how I've been able to receive information, energy, and consciousness through their awareness. So what I understand is that animals like us have multidimensional selves who experience things at multidimensional planes of existence, just as we do. What is very unique to animals, and in my perspective, from what I have understood and discerned, is that they're a little bit more evolved than us, if you could use it the languaging that way, because they have more conscious awareness of themselves as multidimensional. So we don't have as much conscious awareness of ourselves in that way. At least the bulk of humanity doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yes, let's go with that a little bit. So if I know that I'm right here, right now, what I don't know is what happens outside of me in the spiritual realm. You know, I do believe in the spiritual realm. I believe
Right.
in, you know, um, higher powers. So what about animals? When they you said that they were more aware of the multidimensional factor. Can we elaborate on that just a little
Yeah.
bit?
So most humans right now are functioning, for the most part, from a left analytical brain of awareness.
Right.
That means they take information in, they think about it, they discern it, they calculate it, they analyze it. And then depending on how quickly or how consciously they are, most humans, and we then can come to deeper levels of awareness, like, oh, that statement made me think this, made me feel this, now my body feels this. Oh, there's a higher reason. Like, we're analyzing and we're discerning, we're figuring it out, and then we're making connections with our experience of that information.
Mm-hmm.
Animals don't have to do that. They can bypass a lot of that analytical nature and get immediately to the knowing. So they can have an experience and be like, oh, stress, oh, joy, oh, happiness, oh, nervousness, oh, fear. they don't have to analyze. So because of this, they're bypassing a lot of these energetic ranges and they come straight into awareness. And through that awareness now, they can also understand the purpose, the higher reason for. So they're connecting with an aspect of their knowing and their awareness of why, purpose, reason. They don't have to go through the learning that you referred to. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
And because of that, because they don't have to go through the learning, because they can get to the awareness sort of like more immediately, that awareness also opens up to them frequencies or vibrational bandwidth energies that allow them to facilitate for their human or their environment, help them to help facilitate a healing, so to speak, a transformational experience, because they can be a vibration most times or an energy that their human is trying to evolve into. Does that make sense?
It does. It kind of reminds me of, you hear the stories. Actually, there was a study done. There was this one particular dog, and his owner would come home from business trips. And there's no way to know when the owner would come home. But then the dog, for whatever reason, he would always be waiting for the owner there. He would go to the door. Have you heard? I'm sure you're aware of the story.
Those kinds of stories, lots of them. Yeah.
Yeah, lots. I mean, what's going on there? I mean,
Well, so first, I mean, I don't, the specific story you're saying, I don't know. My dog is in my palms and she's chewing on my brace, my necklace here. First, let me say, in this example, the first thing that lit up in my mind's awareness, and I don't know that specific story you're referring to, although I've heard it like the same kind.
There's many. Mm-hmm.
Right. That animal in this case didn't have to learn loyalty, for example. He already had the virtue of loyalty. And he's demonstrating it for his human or for the people who are learning from that story. It's just one example. So animals have virtues, which are ways of behaving that are being learned by the humans that they live with in their environment. And they demonstrate it for their human. That's one example. He's already exhibiting the virtue of loyalty in this example. And he's so telepathically tuned into his human. So when the human begins to think, I'm getting in my car, I'm driving home, I'm going to see Fido or whatever, I can't wait, I'm excited. The animal is already so tuned in energetically, vibrationally, and telepathically to his human that he knows the human is going to be there before the human walks through the door. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They're completely telepathic. And the reason they're telepathic is because they're functioning from a brainwave frequency that we have both kind of attuned ourselves out of. They're on a theta brainwave almost all the time, the animals. And that theta brainwave is a more peaceful brainwave. And it's a highly evolved brainwave, we could use that languaging, where it's completely telepathic. We humans have to learn how to get ourselves back into that telepathic brainwave and to utilize it more regularly, which is part of what humanity's learning right now. And animals are helping us, but they're already there. So that's another reason why, for the example you just gave me, he's already there. The animals are already at a telepathic brainwave. Most humans are mostly functioning only from beta, except when they sleep.
Right.
So if they meditate even a little bit, or if they zone out, they get into alpha. But we are not trained, and most people don't know how to get into theta. And that brainwave is required for our evolution.
I have tried many times. It's very difficult.
No, it's not. Listen, I'm going to show you right now.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so for a few moments, forget that are you willing to do this? It could take.
I am. I'm absolutely willing. Let's try. Let's go.
Okay, so I want you to just to the best of your ability, if you can close your eyes and just be willing to just forget for a moment that you're hosting a show, or an interview, and take some deep and long and slow and relaxing breaths. Just really get as comfortable as you can in your body. And when you're breathing the breaths, and if your eyes are closed like mine, I'm assuming.
They are.
you start to feel with your mind's awareness, you can feel the breath. You actually feel it as you're breathing it. You're already there a little bit, not at theta, but I can feel you. And through your breath, now with your mind's awareness, as you're feeling the breath, I want you to identify the breath now as love, which is a vibration. So just with your intention, there, even deeper, good. You're now breathing in love. And as you're breathing in this love, I want you to feel your body, the whole of your body, begin to fill up with love. So you're breathing it in through the nose. And you can feel your face and your head fill up with love, just however is right for you. And then you exhale whenever's good. And feel your throat fill up with love. Exhale whenever it's comfortable. Feel your heart and your whole chest cavity fill up with love. You're breathing it into your body. Exhale when it's comfortable. Feel your belly center. You're doing really well. You're already vibrationally shifting. Like that means your body's going into homeostasis, right? Relaxation mode. Your belly fills up with love. And your whole midsection. Exhale when you need to, when you want to, as it's comfortable. And on the exhale, sense that you're exhaling love as well, because really, in reality, love and peace, that's really all there is energetically. And so you're surrounding yourself on the exhale with love and peace too, because you're just breathing it out, breathing in love and peace, exhaling it out. And now when you move past the belly center, the midsection, you go down to the reproductive. And you just relax in. We're not even out of theta brainwave. Right now, you're probably just pushing alpha. You're still very aware. You hear my voice. You feel the breath. And then as you fill up the reproductive center and you exhale out, love and peace. And then connect with the love and peace through the buttocks or base of the spine. You just feel yourself sitting on the chair. And you're definitely in an alpha now, only because I'm really conscious of your field and I can feel your field with you, your field of energy. So notice where you are in this moment. This is like what an alpha brainwave feels like. You can kind of feel it and sense it. Can you feel and sense that peace?
Yes.
Relaxation? Yeah, that's your alpha. You're in an alpha. And anyone who's done this with us, they would feel that too. Now, from this place, you can feel your buttocks. You can just be aware. You're breathing, still breathing in love and peace. You can feel your buttocks. You can feel your reproductive. Just scan your own body for a moment. Feel your belly center. Notice anywhere in your body that you still feel any discomfort or misalignment. Breathe some love and peace to further deeper relax you into deeper homeostasis. Just being aware of your body and your energetic state right now. This is alpha. Feels really good, feels really peaceful, still very conscious and aware. And now this time with the next breath of love and peace, I just want you to feel as you breathe in love and peace for the top of your brain, underneath the scalp. You're still in your body. Top of the brain, under the scalp. Breathing in love and peace, relaxing. Feel, there you go, you're getting there. There you go, top of the brain, under the scalp. Now notice, you're just about, there you go. Top of the brain, under the scalp. And now the difference of this frequency, so subtle, very aware, very conscious, and yet it has a kind of slightly altered state, slightly zoned out. And sometimes there. You're pretty much there right now. Can you feel that? That difference?
Oh, yeah.
There. Now you can just come right back. What happens when you go into that theta brainwave, it starts to feel a pressure and yet good. Sometimes the first time you get there, the first few, especially if you stay there for a long time, you can feel a kind of almost like a little bit of a headache state temporarily.
It, I felt pressure, but it didn't hurt.
Yeah, it tends to feel good.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Um,
Now they don't teach that in school.
no, I wish they would.
But look how quick. And you, Ryan, you had the belief system before we got on the call that you have tried and couldn't do it. But you just did it. You broke through your own limiting belief. Isn't that amazing?
You know, breaking through limiting beliefs. My goodness. You know, we think it takes forever and you have to work at it and work at it and work at it, but sometimes it just clicks. Sometimes it just happens. Now, I can tell you from that experience that we just did, I'm so much more relaxed now talking to you than I was before. So I appreciate that. That was
I'm so
really
glad.
neat.
Yeah.
Breaking.
When I do calls like this, by the way, I get people who calls and we do calls. We'll have 100 or 200 people on a webinar. We get everybody in that state. And I mean, it really does shift. It's the way we're going to change our planet for the better. What's going on planet Earth right now? Because from that state, in a theta brainwave state, we start connecting to realms that are what we would call dimensions beyond our physicality. And from those dimensional states of consciousness, that's where we make the change. It's not going to happen anymore on the physical level. No, I mean, not that that's not involved. It is. But that the power from that state, once you start really residing there with your awareness, you can start making planetary change very quickly. Most people don't understand this yet, but that's what I'm teaching. That's what really I'm about, is improving life on planet Earth for all of humanity.
We all have what we believe in the universe. In my belief, one of the teachers said, wherever two or more are gathered, there I am also.
Yes.
Now, whenever
1 + 1 is not 2.
right,
1 is 11 in the spiritual realms.
so the more people
more
that are doing it, the more powerful, the more I think that love heals all. Would you say that if everybody on Earth would come into would just love each other? Can you imagine what this Earth could be? I mean, seriously.
Yes.
Well,
the only challenge I want to say, I am in agreement that ultimately love heals everything. And ultimately love is the solution. However, I think it's a spiritual bill of goods. Like, in other words, I think that it's, and I'm about to bust some belief systems, I'm sure, but I think that it's sort of like it's too candy coated. Because I do think we came to this reality. Planet Earth, one of the games of Earth in the physical world is to learn to love, but it's only one of the games. And there are many beings interacting in this reality that aren't necessarily here to learn love. And sometimes the solution on the lower planes of existence, sometimes the solution is truth. That's a game to learn truth too. Sometimes the solution is integrity. There are beings who actually, many of our world leaders came here to learn integrity, how to be in integrity. Sometimes if you're dealing with beings in the non-physical who do exist, who aren't here, who aren't very benevolent, they're here to experience power. And from that perspective, for example, if you send a being like that love and they're a dark being, they're actually going to gain power to continue to play the game of darkness. So in that perspective, love is not always the solution or the answer. And I know that complicates things, but I think that's one of the things we like to believe in the lower realms. Oh, we're here to learn love. And I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench into it all. It's just that from a very evolving point of view where we are evolving, we're becoming much more evolved beings on earth, we actually have a lot more to do than just love. And I love love. It is ultimately the solution. It's not always the solution of every little thing. Does that make sense? Or did I
Oh,
overcome?
no, it does make sense. I
Like if
believe
you throw love at a really dark being who's here to cause problems for humanity, and they're playing in the game here, they get more powerful.
so. What do you
Even
do? What do you do?
discernment.
I'm sorry.
Well, number one, you develop discernment,
Okay.
but really what the solution, the way I learned this is that I was always like, what is source's will? What is God's will? Source, creator, God, one true God of light of creation. What is the will of God on this? That's how I learned this, because I used to throw love at everything.
Uh-huh.
I used to send love to everyone and everything. I thought that was the solution to everything. And I started to realize, like, how come I'm sending love to these beings and they're hating on me? Because some beings don't want love, or they're not consciously aware that that's what they want, or especially if they're covered in entities. So, sometimes if you send love at somebody who's playing a different game, it's not the right solution. So I'd be like, oh, why is this person that I'm sending love to hating on me? Or like, how come I'm sending love to these, very evil people who are posing as government leaders, and they're getting more powerful to do horrible things to planet Earth, like conspiracy type things or whatever. And that's how I
Right.
started learning it. I was asking, all right, well then, source, what's your will? What is your will? What is for the most benevolent best? Because sometimes what's for the most benevolent best might not seem like. Another great example of this is like, I had this for so long, and I know a lot of light workers have this. In our desire to love and accept all, we end up getting abused by people. Like, there's a lot of amazing, incredible, spiritually advanced light workers who are doing their best to love, and they end up with abusers.
I
And they
can
don't,
understand that.
and they keep forgiving and keep loving because they think that's the solution. And in fact, in this case, it's like, no, in this case, you're meant to say, I'm no longer going to take this kind of abuse. It's unacceptable. And then the change is in self-love, which is still ultimately the solution. But they can't imagine saying to the person, no, that's not okay anymore. You're the problem, not me. But that is so strange, right?
It is. So whenever you started learning about, we're all learning. I'm just beginning into this path, over the past couple of years. But whenever you started learning about this, I watched a video, and you had mentioned your brother, if I'm not mistaken, whispering into your ear. And I would like to know a little bit about how that happened. Was that like when you started down this path? Um, Take it away. I want to hear
Well,
about
no,
that.
what I would say that, first of all, I do have a knowing that we all do kind of sign up for certain things in the non-physical before we incarnate. And we have free will while we're here to certain degrees, but then certain things are kind of written into our script in terms of what we're going to work through. So I really do. Sorry, my dog, she's
Oh,
she's in
she's
the
fine.
playpen.
Oh, yeah.
So I really do get that. My brother, the one who transitioned, that's the one you're referring to, that part of his script was to learn his own form of self-worth and self-value. And that part of the way he was going to learn that was through his transition and what would happen in the non-physical and what he passed down after crossing over. So, well, for me, I was always into this stuff, but the way I was into it before he transitioned was like tarot cards and runes. And I loved animals, and I didn't have to learn service in this lifetime. That was just not a lesson for me. I had learned that in other lifetimes. So when he transitioned, he was like the catalyst to reawaken what was dormant in me, to initialize the reawakening of what was dormant in me from other lifetimes. That's how I see it. So when he transitioned, at first I kind of thought I was crazy. It took a whole year of linear time before I started realizing, like, I'm not imagining this and I'm not crazy. I'm not making this up. This is real. And during that year alone, I mean, I was still married at that time. And my ex-husband at that time, we were definitely drifting apart because I was starting to get into this stuff and he thought it was crazy. Then it took like another 2 years of linear time for me to even just begin to really awaken the initial gifts that I think were just dormant in me, waiting for me to claim. Those were gifts that I would say were like learned or developed in other lifetimes. And then after that, I started utilizing them, and they were still constantly getting stronger. The more you give it away, the stronger it gets. But when I say give it away, I don't mean to just, although I did that, like, I don't mean to not treat it with respect, the gifts of, not to respect them. I had to learn those things, but I just gave them in service and out of the joy of utilizing and giving these gifts. And so they further developed. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, because sometimes, just to be frank, sometimes I think I have a gift and I'm trying to find out how to pull it out, you know. And how did you find out how to pull that gift to the surface?
Okay. So first, I want to say we all have incredible gifts, all of us. There's no one who doesn't. It is a matter of, when you say pull it out, it's like you're cultivating it from
Right.
within you. And one of the best things, I mean, these steps to me are so basic, but they require repeating. Number one, eliminate anything and everything from your reality, your physical experience, that is interfering with that. Some obvious ones. This is the obvious. Genetically modified foods. Why? They interrupt the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which are your master extrasensory glands, also called the third eye. So any and all forms of genetically modified foods, artificial sweeteners, diet sodas, fast food, that stuff literally does interfere. And by the way, all that genetically modified food, also now we know lots of it has what's called nanotechnologies, which is, we don't even have time to go into that stuff right now, but artificial substances into the body are interfering with our abilities to access and claim those gifts that are naturally ours. Another thing we have to eliminate or reduce is what we would call inorganic or unnatural interactions. So technology is an example. We have to use technology in a new way. The news, anything that is deliberately dark or fear-based. So yes, news and violence on TV. We think it sounds so crazy to say that violence is a problem, but violence is a form of mass brainwashing and artificial inorganic interference in the energy field. Because these gifts that you're trying to pull out, that you're referring to, these kinds of gifts, they do not vibrate in harmony with violence. They do not vibrate in harmony with fear. So it's almost like lock and key will not match. If you're trying to access something that's in you and awaken it, pull it out from you, so to speak, that's your languaging, you have to be vibrationally harmonious with it. If there's a mass vibrational imbalance, you cannot access it. It's like reaching for something, so to speak, that you can't reach for. It's out of reach,
Right.
so to speak, even though it's within you. So any form of fear porn, I call that fear porn, I'm not the only one, that would come through TV, Hollywood movies, anything fear-based, rage-based, violence-based, anger-based, that stuff will keep it out and away from you. So that's another example. Technology is a good example that it can really interfere, but it also is meant to serve us. So we have to learn how to use technology in ways that are vibrationally harmonious.
Right.
Crystals, in the crystalline structure realm, the crystalline realm can really facilitate that, can help with that by That's part of the role of crystals. It's only a small part, by neutralizing artificial technology, for example. So that's another. No fluoride in the body. Fluoride has to be removed from the body. That's why water purification is really important. And time in nature is really important, because that helps bring us back into alignment with these gifts. These are just some of the most basic ways. The other thing I will say to you, Ryan, in response to your question, and this is to me like perhaps the other most important thing, is to put yourself around people who are already doing it. This interview is a great example of that. You're doing that. You have to get to physical environment. And it doesn't have, it can be online, you know, like webinars online, meditation circles, but retreats, no question, retreats, you know, healing circles, dance groups, anywhere where people are already doing it, because that brings you into vibrational proximity with that bandwidth where your gifts, you become able to access your gifts. Does that make sense?
Oh man. Okay, so it makes perfect sense. Non-GMO foods. My wife makes sure we do that. We don't eat meat. Let me rephrase. I'm not going to say we're strictly vegan, because if we order fried rice and it comes with a little bit of egg or whatever, I'll eat it. But for the most part, we don't eat meat. We don't eat GMO foods. We try to eliminate the news. We are very outdoorsy people. I'm actually wearing a shirt about the national parks. We go to national parks a lot. And, you know, I'm not going to say I'm being selfish, but one of the reasons that I've set up the interviews such as this, I don't even like calling them interviews, the conversations, is because I get so much out of these. I want to spread it to the world. And so, you know, I'm doing everything that you just said. and
well, let me tell you the most advanced, not the most advanced, but progressively. Once you get, you know, you're doing those things, the next one of the most progressive advanced things is to participate in transmissions of some kind, transmissions and activations. And to me, that is that's really the most important thing, because like all I can say is, I'll share my personal experience of this, is that it's the transmissions and the activations that ultimately make the biggest leaps in the vibrational shifts. And the challenge with transmissions and activations, in my opinion, when I say transmissions and activations, like that's what I lead online with the DNA activations, and that's what I do, you know, in retreats and like all my events, whether they're online or in person. The challenge with those is in the earliest stages, which could be years for some people. You have to still be overcoming, in a sense, your own, and I'm saying you, but I mean all of us, behavioral, old ways of behavioral challenges and thinking and emotions, because those will still come up. So for example, if I give a retreat or do an event and then somebody gets, like the last DNA activations call, we had a little bit of technology issues, which are designed sometimes to help people overcome their own behavioral challenge of what they think or how they think it should go, or what they believe it should be. So in those moments, they're being given an opportunity to make a vibrational change, to overcome a way of being from the past. For example, it's just one example. You see, so that's what I mean. The challenge of the vibrational attunements and activations is that you still have to pass through what I call these frequency fences. So a frequency fence is like a fence where your old vibrational self exists, your new vibrational self wants to make the shift to, but in between there is the energetic density of who you've been, where you've been residing. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
And so when you're making that shift, you're going through it and you're having to play out with your awareness. Remember, your awareness, you want to rise to a new level of awareness where you look at that and you go, I'm not going to get sucked into that old story. I'm not going to be that old vibration of believing that there's a problem here or that there's a wrongness. I'm not going to let there be a judgment or a power struggle fight or an argument or a disagreement. I'm going to vibrationally pass through this fence with my awareness, knowing I don't want to be that any longer. I want to be the love and the peace. I'm choosing that. I'm making the energetic shift, even though this is a little bit of a bumpy piece through this vibrational bandwidth of a so-called frequency fence, where the old me, I'll no longer be. The new me is this new energetic shift and change that knows I'm in the peace and the love. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That period of time is going on Earth right now, all over the Earth, and it's happening continuously as we are shifting. Does that make sense?
It does.
Look at this light coming in here. Can you see this? I don't know if you're picking this up.
Oh, I can see it.
All kinds of light stuff coming in. It was very cool.
If tell me about your retreats. Like, okay, so I saw you were at the Conscious Life Expo in LA. I saw one of the interviews that you did there, I think back a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
It's been a couple of years.
I went in 2020, had a blast. I love it. Not 2020, 2019, because I don't even know if they had it last year. I'm not sure.
They didn't because of COVID. Well,
Right.
they online, I think. But
Yeah, I do believe they're bringing them back this year. But and if they do, I'll be there. I live in Irvine, just about.
You're right there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just right up the road from me.
Uh-huh.
So tell me about your. I don't even know why I mentioned that. Tell me about your retreats. What goes on at your retreats? You mentioned.
Well, okay, I've been leading retreats for many years now, and actually, this is going to be the last year that I do it. And the reason, at least that I know of for now, because it takes an enormous amount, like months and months of planning,
right,
and just the bandwidth to do them. It takes so much time and energy, and I just not getting to do other things. But that said, this last retreat is the 5th year, I think, of the Crystal Retreat. Before that, I was doing dolphin journeys. I mean, anyway, what we do is we go. This retreat that I do is in Arkansas. It's over a crystal bed. We're in a national park in Mount Ida, Arkansas.
okay,
and this is where all these crystals are embedded in the earth. And these Lemurian crystals are like record keepers and timekeepers. And we learn how to work with the crystals and use them for activations in ourselves, DNA, dormant DNA activations, and also for healing in ourselves and others, and also for telepathic communication. So everybody learns not only how to access that theta brainwave, but also how to utilize it telepathically and energetically so that we can have these kinds of higher vibrational, so to speak, or pure channel connections with higher states of consciousness. The crystals, they're just record keepers, time keepers, energy keepers, and they're there to help us. But in reality, they're just another tool, right? They're another form of a tool. And there's all kinds of tools that Source, Consciousness, Creator, God has put here for us. We put them here for ourselves, and they help us connect with multidimensional states of awareness, including versions of ourselves who we evolve into, and including versions of ourselves from the so-called past, so that we can reclaim dormant knowings and recover not only our memory, our awareness, but our energetic states. So soul, parts of us that have been fragmented from traumas in this lifetime and in others. So the crystals that are literally embedded into the earth in Arkansas, other parts of the world too, but where we go on the retreat, they're helping with that. So that's what the retreat is about. But it's also about community, friendship. It's where you get to put yourself in proximity to others. It's one of the why it's so important to help us to recover not only our memories, our gifts, our states of being, our energy, our core frequency to do healing, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic, to clear out old traumas, because that is what's happening on earth right now, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not, it's happening. It is being lovingly required of us. It's being coerced, whether it's through traumas of COVID or whatever else we're going on. So rather than miscreating our reality to have these unpleasant experiences that do force us or coerce us into some kind of learning, we can do it in a way that is so much more benevolent and so much more divinely aligned and enjoyable. So that's what the retreat is about. And we create community. I mean, the people that have been doing my retreats they form lifetime friendships. We're still in touch through not only through our Facebook page, but like literally, I mean, one of my besties who lives in Florida, she had one of the people from the dolphin retreat 4 years later come and visit her. Like we still all hang. And I always have people come back, to do it as a reunion every year. They come back over and over again. It's community, it's healing, it's developing and accessing and awakening our gifts. And it's just off the charts.
That's great.
Yeah, and animals are welcome, like well-behaved animals.
Yeah, well-behaved.
Can't quite tell right now in this moment, but my dog is one of them.
Oh man, I've been enjoying what's your dog's name?
Her name is Emma. Well, Emma Shasta.
Okay.
She's named after Mount Shasta.
Okay.
Where I am right now.
Well, I like your dog. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, I can send them to your website, LoriSpagna.com. And I don't even know if I'm butchering your last name or not.
It's okay. I've been called all kinds of things.
I have heard.
Lori Spagna.
Okay,
yeah, Lori Lasagna, Lori Spaniel, Cocker Spaniel. Anyway, it's all good. But Lori Spagna, and it's the G N is silent, right? It's LORISPAGNA. But I can give some free gifts to people so they can sample some learnings, right? People can sample a gifted DNA activation and experience what it is and why it's important and why we do that. If they go to lorispagna.com/free gifts/DNA. And then for the people who are animal lovers and really want to learn more about communicating with animals and their intuitive gifts, their psychic gifts, telepathic abilities, and healing with animals, really great content there. lorispagna.com/free gifts/animals. And then for people who want to learn more about the crystals and how to work with those and the crystals you have to have for ascension, how they help us, what to do with them, they can go to lorispagna.com/free gifts/crystals.
I'm going to put those in the show notes so they'll be easily accessible for anybody that sees this.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
Hey, oh my goodness. I know I've taken up a ton of your time today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love this. I love sharing this knowledge and wisdom. It's my mission,
Oh, man, I love it too. I mean, just to be able to speak with somebody without them looking at me with a glaze over their face, about things. Because I'm an avid prayer. I'm releasing an app here pretty soon, actually at the expo in February. And so I'm going to put everything, put this conversation, I'm going to fit it in there and hopefully help some people learn what I've learned today from you. So one last thing before we go, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you, either in a retreat or a healing session or something like that? We can all think of one thing.
All right, well, let me tell you, at the retreats, every one of my retreats, I do laughter parties.
Oh, cool.
And I love them because when we get into states of really extreme laughter, it doesn't take extreme, but we get into that, we start releasing serotonin, dopamine, like all the happiness, feel-good chemicals, and that makes the body heal. But anyway, and I love laughter parties. But one of them was so good. We had 45 people in a circle, everybody laughing hysterical for not just a minute or two, 15, 20 minutes of pure laughter. No one's allowed.
Oh my goodness.
Pointing, making funny noises, laughing hysterical. Well, probably one of the funniest things was, just peeing in my pants funny, like literally.
Oh my.
It gets
Oh,
so fun. It's so fun. And everybody is just so happy. And I say this about the people on my retreats, we fall in love with each other. We really do. Because we're just being free. And, if you're laughing with a bunch of people where you're really happily in so much joy and you're releasing all those feel good chemicals in your body, including, like oxytocin, which is like
right,
the love hormone,
right.
basically. You fall in love. But it's just so funny to watch people doing that and to be part of that, making funny noises and
Oh,
peeing in your pants funny, like literally.
oh my goodness. Well,
The funniest thing. I have moments of peeing in my pants from laughter and joy. You asked me. I'm being real.
well, I'm glad
Like,
that you were so happy you peed in your pants. That's
I'm almost
that's awesome.
embarrassed. I'm so
Oh
embarrassed
no.
now that I just said it, but I don't have enough embarrassment in me.
Oh,
It won't last,
don't be embarrassed.
Good
Oh
way.
my goodness. Well, um, again, I can't express how awesome this was today. I've learned a lot. I know everybody else will too. Thank you so much, so
My
much. I
pleasure.
mean,
Thank you for
thank you.
having me. Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.